Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the next exciting episode of Personality Yoda, where at the moment we're going through a series of interviews where I get to interview some amazing people who represent the very best of the voice combinations. And for those who remember last time, we spoke with Vaughan, who was a guardian creative, a very endangered species in the voices world. We don't see them very often. And today we have an amazing lady called Tina Evans. And Tina is a connector creative nurturer, or ENFJ, if you speak Jungian type. And as if by magic, thanks to the wonders of technology, Tina has just appeared on your screen. So Tina, welcome to Personality Yoda. Thank you for being my special guest today. It's lovely to have you. Why don't you do a little introduction to everyone? Tell us a little bit about Tina, where you're from, where you live, anything that you think will be really helpful for the people getting to know you a little bit better.
All right. Well, hello. I am really excited to be here and to be a part of this new stream and to be able to talk to the Personality Yoda himself. I'm a mother. I am married to my husband Patrick. We're nearing 20 years. Very soon. We're nearing that 20 years. So I'm going to say 20 instead of saying married 19 years because it just sounds cooler saying 20 years. I have a 14-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son. So being a mother is my main priority. That is my focus. Being home, I work from home, so we are together a lot.
Wow.
My background, I actually grew up in Colorado. So I was born and raised in Colorado, but I now live in Oklahoma. So deep roots here in Oklahoma. I've actually lived longer in Oklahoma than I have in Colorado. So I think I can actually now say this is my home, because I would still say I'm going back home when I would visit my family in Colorado. I have a background in communications. That's my trade. So I spent many years in various nonprofits. That's where my heart lies, is with nonprofits and helping them with their communications and their marketing and just their general outreach.
Fantastic, Tina. I can see that already. I think when you get to recognize personalities, you instinctively know when you meet someone who cares. When you meet someone who is incredibly relational, and everyone's going to get to see and hear more of that today. So talk to us a little bit, Tina, okay? I get Oklahoma journey and communications. How did you first encounter Giant, and how have the 5 voices, I guess, impacted, connected, shaped you the most? Give us a little bit about that.
Well, I have always been very interested in personality and human behavior. I started my college career down psychology path. And I didn't pursue it, postgraduate. But what I did was I, switched over to communications and public relations. I thought, well, that's similar. And I can stop at a bachelor's. I didn't have to keep going with my education. So I've always had just a really interest in why people do what they do and why I do what I do. So I think over time, it just took a couple of years for me to work in that communications area, working verbally and the written word. And all of a sudden, it just kind of clashed a couple years ago. And I thought, I need to help people in a different way. And that's when I found Giant. And what struck me to the core was the whole 5 voices. And just, it was deeper than any other personality assessment I have ever taken since. I have taken others since. And it just resonated with me to just know, okay, I know who I am, but I know more about me than I've ever known before, which kind of sounds weird. Like, don't you know yourself? Actually, no. What I've discovered is we don't really know who we are until we really take a deep dive into why we are what we are, and how we affect other people by just being who we are.
That's so good, Tina. I mean, I wish I could bring you all on as kind of marketing for Giant, but everything that we dreamed voices would be, you've just described. What Jeremy and I will always say is that all of this has come out of our own personal failure and brokenness. And so therefore our spouses, our friends have had to learn, and codifying, helping people know themselves so they can lead themselves. And it's a bit like, I would say it's a bit like the Matrix. The moment you can see the green letters and the numbers going down the screen, you kind of go, oh, no wonder they annoy me, or no wonder they behave well. Yeah. So, and I think it's one of those ones where it's so important to understand what it's like to be on the other side of you. And that then gives you, in terms of your communication and the things you love doing. So that's fantastic. I appreciate you saying that. So connector, creative, nurturer, pioneer, guardian is your voice order by nature. And here's the important thing as well, which I'm sure others who listen will resonate with, is just because that is your nature doesn't mean that's what shows up on TV. There is what we call nature, nurture, and choice. And if you happen to be a mum, and you happen to have a family and be a wife and people of faith and gender, whatever it might be, you'll find, Tina, there's a lot of oughts and shoulds that shape the way you project to the world. So it's always interesting for me is when I say, tell us a bit about you, Tina, which basically is saying, how do you want to define yourself rather than I'm going to define you? And when you define yourself through your identity in relation to other people, what I know is I might have a connector creative, but I've got a very strong nurturer behavior pattern being presented to me, because I had to pull a little bit to find out what an unbelievable professional background you have. And that's that classic kind of, I always say, if you squash a connector, you usually end up with a nurturer. You squash a pioneer, you get a guardian. And it's almost like, particularly for women, having permission to be who you are made to be at your best. And that's often why for people, the liberation of simply going, that's actually who I am at my best. That's the identity I'm going to live into. And all of a sudden you go, I've been living with a fair few inhibitions and prohibitions and trying to please other people and do what I'm told. So it's thrilling to meet a truly liberated, connector, creative nurturer, knowing that you probably have well developed those nurturer tendencies in your definition of I'm primarily a mum. Any of that resonate, Tina?
All of it resonates, yes.
So giving you permission to be the connector creative and realize that nurturer is third voice. You can do it, but it is not what you are at your best doing. And so therefore, here's a little question for you. Okay, let's assume that I'm your boss. I know it's a terrifying thought. And, people who've worked for me over the years, I try my best, but I'm just not the best at it. Help us understand. We talk a lot about support and challenge as the goal of leadership being, how do I create an environment where the person I'm leading actually experiences from me the highest level of support and the highest level of challenge, calibrated effectively at the right time in the right moment, so that you experience true empowerment to be even more sometimes than you believe you can be, and have the opportunity to fulfill all of those dreams, all of those kind of almost hidden things that wonder, will I do it? So if I was your boss for a moment, Tina, and I'm just literally sitting down with you saying, okay, Tina, I want to be the very best leader I can be for you, but I need you to give me some clues. What would high support look like? What would high challenge look like? Coach me in being your boss.
Well, how about 100% support and just zero challenge? Does that work?
So you want me to protect you basically, and to kind of leave you in the place where you don't get to be the best you can be. That would be. So here's the question. Start with support. Start with support for them. What I know with the connector creative nurturers are, if you don't feel my support, if you don't feel that relational invitation that I will treat you, Tina, as a human being before I treat you as a human doing, it will always not go well. So give me some practical things. What do I need to do? So, let's deal with the support first. And once you've trust me with that, we'll put some challenge in as well. So come on, what would high support look like, Tina? What would I be doing?
Well, absolutely. High support would have to come first. So yeah. I've had the opportunity and the blessing to be able to look back over my 15-year career after now knowing this language and support and challenge and my voice and what I could lean into and what kind of repelled me in different other personalities. So really support and just hearing my big ideas. I really enjoy making things better. I don't think I've ever been like a big problem solver, but I like to make things better. So if we've got a process, I have an idea. So really, I think just first lean into it and just hear me, just listen to these ideas. But the challenge for me needs to come in the, okay, you know, that could work. It might work, Tina, but we need to come back to the present because I'm out there already finished with the project, and you need to be with me thinking and being like, this is great, yes, but I need to be brought back to reality, to present tense, and go, okay, but what do we need to do to get there? It's hard for me to see all the steps. I just want to already be there. So the challenge for me is to help me see all the steps in order to do that big idea, whether we do the big idea or, you know, or not, but it's looking at the full picture. Brilliant. I think also one other I've realized as well, another challenge for me is to say no. If someone comes to me with, I need your help, could you do this for me? Well, you're coming to me, so you must think I'm good enough to do it. So yes, I will do that. But I've had to learn to say no, but I also think, you know, you as my boss, I would need to feel your support, I suppose, in allowing me, giving me the permission to say no or to redirect where that ask is going to go.
That is so wise. So other connected creative nurturers out there, if you are one, you lead one, people pleasing is a very, very strong driver. And the thought of being around, particularly for the connected creative nurturers, they love being around often quite strong visionary type leaders, particularly when those people really take the time to hear them and let them help shape the strategy, help shape the ideas. But they're very, very poor, Tina, at saying no to strong authority figures, and will often tend to take on more than they can do for fear that if they don't take it on, then, you know, they'll get replaced and someone else will do it. So here's what I'm hearing in terms of support. So with most connectors, what I need to create is I need to create an environment where I go, Tina, tell me what you're excited about. What's your big idea right now? How would you do this? And to really take the time to listen well and let you talk for as long as you want to. That's realistic, probably longer than some friends would love. And here's the critical thing is when you have shared what is always personal for a connector, any idea you share, you said, I've virtually finished it in my mind. I know it's right. I've done my research. A connector creative usually needs is celebration first. So Steve, celebrate what's really good about my idea. Celebrate with me what actually is really exciting about that future. And then once I've experienced the celebration and support of going, I really feel this, I've valued, heard, listened to, then go, okay, Tina, if this is going to happen, let's work together on next steps. So Pioneer Guardian is always that strategic next step piece. Well, it's your fourth and fifth voice. It will always be a learned behavior and a struggle. But actually, when I come alongside you and go, okay, Tina, this is brilliant. I think you've got where we're going to go, but I'm going to work with you on how we're going to get there. And that, I think, from a task point of view, is really important. I think the other thing is whenever I'm dealing with a connected creative nurturer, what I know is that actually you are unbelievably sensitive to disturbances in the relational, emotional force around me. You feel people's pain, even when you're not responsible for them. And one of the things I'm always doing with characters like you, Tina, is helping you stay focused on the relationships and the tasks that you really do have responsibility for, and giving you, as you say, permission to say no. So sometimes what I'll often do, Tina, with people I've led before, wired like you, I say, how heavy is your backpack? right now. And they look at me and go, what do you mean by that, Steve? I said, well, I know what you're like. How many people have you picked up along the way and you've decided that you can help them, and you throw them into your backpack, you feed them, you care for them, you consult with them, you help them think about their life. Everybody loves being in the backpack of the connected creative nurturer. However, if you never take anyone out, eventually that backpack becomes very, very heavy. So what I'll often say is to a connected creative nurturer, I go, every now and again, I'm going to do a backpack audit, and this might come out in our conversation later. How heavy is the load right now, Tina? How many people have you got in there? And what I'll often do with you sometimes, I will make you write on a piece of paper all the people that you feel responsible for right now, that you're caring for, and I will walk through each one and go, okay, is that still your responsibility, or do they need to go somewhere else? Or, I know you've been carrying them for 5 years. Do you think you probably need to let them go at this point, or change the orbit? Because this is what I say in support. I go, Tina, you're always going to find people that want to be you invest in their lives. You are one of the most amazing people in the world. And the whole Five Voices firmament, there's nobody better at actually loving people, helping them shape their future, and connecting them to new opportunities. But you can't do it for everybody. So I'll always say, how heavy is it? If it's too heavy, then what we're going to do is we're going to take some of them out, and I'm going to help you lovingly release them with blessing into something different, so that you're able to carry the load, and the people and the responsibilities important for you. That probably, as a boss, is the most profound gift I can give you, even though each time we take somebody out of your backpack, it feels like you're giving up a child for adoption. That sounds familiar, Tina?
Yeah, that is gold, and I wish I would have known this, 20 years ago. Now, to be honest, I think my backpack isn't really heavy right now, and it feels good to say that, and I hope that that's okay to say, because I don't have, as a solopreneur, I don't have a team. I don't have an organization. I have my own business, and I have my family. So right now, and learning that I can say no, learning that it's okay. And there's a good way to say no to people. And I'm learning that as well. So I think I feel pretty healthy with the size of my backpack, and I'm not a very big person either, so I can't have a big backpack.
So I'm going to celebrate that, you see, because that's actually, you feel guilty even admitting you're good at something. So we're celebrating progress. Every connected creative nurturer, ENFJ on the call, Mickey's just chimed in. Everyone who's wired like you will know that temptation. It's a tendency. So here's what's going to happen, Tina. As your business grows, as you work with more and more people that come to love the fact that you are there for them, you're helping them build their teams, you're helping them get healthy, you will still end up filling up your backpack again. Only this time you'll know, actually, when it gets too heavy, that's not you're supposed to do another 20 reps in the gym so you can carry even more people. It's actually an early warning radar system that says, I need to manage my load. And here's the other piece that's really important to understand, is the biggest way that connected creative nurturers undermine their influence is actually at some point in their lives when the backpack gets too heavy and they feel overwhelmed, they will have a tendency to slip the backpack off and run. And nothing undermines their influence more with those strategic pioneer characters they love working with, when they go, I still love my little connected creative nurturer, but I'm not sure I'm going to trust them with that level of responsibility again, because they didn't give me a warning, it got too heavy, and they ran away. And they go, that's, if ever I say to the connected creative nurturer, what's the one thing, if I'm your boss, what's the one thing, if I'm going to trust you with real responsibility, because I want to, because you are an amazing ability to gather people, to care for people, to champion the vision of what it is we're doing. The danger is you can't disappear and let me down in a moment. That's the only thing I would say is a non-negotiable. And I will constantly ask you, how heavy is the backpack? How much stress are you carrying? How weary are you? because that's me being the ultimate liberating leader to the way you're wired. So again, any of that sound familiar to you? Yeah.
Yes, I don't think that I've actually slipped the backpack and ran.
Good.
However, I do think I have mentally. I do think there's been many times where I was too weighted down, too frustrated. I couldn't get everything done, or nothing was getting done to the level of perfection that I thought it needed to be at. And so I think in my mind, there's been numerous instances where I kind of ran away in my mind, and I'm like, I can't, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm finished with that. I'm done. So knowing though that that's kind of a tendency, that is something I actually need to be aware of. And I'm not necessarily alone in that. That is part of who my voice is.
Yeah.
It's comforting, but it's also something I absolutely need to be aware of. Because even I've had those kind of thoughts in the last 2 years, having a business and the life that we have all lived in the last year. There's times I just wanted to run. So yes, absolutely, that means a lot.
So if you think when you go through this whole series, every single personality has their kryptonite, the thing that weakens them and undermines them. And it's not a failure. The tendency or the temptation will always be there. But the difference is, the real maturity is to know yourself well enough to lead yourself so that you choose an action where the consequence is life-giving for you and your influence goes up. And that's, so, you said at the beginning of this section, you just prefer all support from me and no challenge. I know you didn't really mean it, but if you've actually heard how, hopefully I said, if I was your boss and I was going to be a liberator for you, those are the ways that I would bring support and challenge. But the key thing is, you believe that I'm for you, that I want the best for you, that I'm deeply committed to our friendship, our relationship, our partnership in what we're doing. But I am going to bring challenge to help you be the best you can be. And that's that distinction between a liberating leader and in the non-profit sector where you are, and I've been a lot, there's an awful lot of what we call protecting, where there's a lot of support and not enough challenge. And what that does is it means you don't actually grow in the places you need to grow. So, liberator light is not good enough. So anyway, I will stop there, Tina, and move on, because this is another exciting part for me. So here's the scenario, okay? I am going to invest. You and I are going to partner in something, okay? I hope you want to do that. I don't mind whether it's a new business, whether it's a non-profit, whether, whatever it's going to be, money will not be the issue. And every relationship I have in the world and all the networks that Giant belong will be available to help us do this together. So all of your traditional inhibitions of, I'd love to, but I can't, or that would never work, because probably we're not going to be Olympic athletes again now, Tina. We might have gone beyond that. But within the realms of possibility, if that was the case, and I said every other responsibility you have in the world for your son, for your daughter, everyone is going to be cared for at least as well as you would. Go after your dream. What would we be doing together? What would we be partnering in if you actually said, okay, I'm going to live into an absolute dream I have for the future? So come on, you can think out loud, you can brainstorm, we'll play together. Come on, give us some thoughts.
That sounds fantastic. And it's really hard to just, my brain is going to explode with all these thoughts right now. I think it has to come down to just my passion for health. And I think it would be a business that takes into account the full body health. So mind, mind health, mindset, self-awareness, all that Giant has to offer someone's personal and professional growth, but also the physical health. Mm-hmm. Exercise, nutrition. I'm really into home remedies, and I make a lot of my own things. So I think it would be so much fun to create a business that really is individualized for that person, not just a cookie cutter, exercise program or nutrition program, but just a full body helping people be well and be as healthy as they can be.
So here's what I always think. So thank you, Tina, for sharing. I know and you've got lots of other things. You go, I had that and I had this. What I love, you see, is I'm always asking is, does what you've shared fit Cockram's law? Which is, if Pareto could have one, I decided I could have one too, and go, is this you spending at least 70% of your time doing what by nature you were naturally gifted to do? So if you think of your first two voices, connector, creative, and a bit of nurture thrown in, does what you've described fit with the way you were made to be at your best? So I wasn't expecting to find that we'd be in business together making an awful lot of money. And I'm delighted to think that basically what you shared is we're probably running a non-profit, I would guess, or a limited profit. But if you think about the things that came out of you, your greatest desire as a connector, creator, nurturer is, how do I help people fulfill their true potential? How do I help them be the best that they can possibly be? And how do I actually bring lasting change in the most healthy, holistic way to the people that I'm actually serving and with? So therefore you fulfill your potential as you help others fulfill their potential. So in a sense, Giant is one piece of the puzzle, but you will always add for any of your clients a deep, passionate commitment to go, how do you be healthy? How does it be nutritious? How does it be long lasting? How do you live a life which integrates the whole of who you are? Because in the end, that would be one of the highest values for you, a healthy, integrated life of body, mind, soul, spirit, all those things where we get to be at our best. So the interesting thing for me, Tina, I go like, okay, I can see you doing that. I think you'll do it anyway through the vehicles you already have. And I think you will make your own, almost your own consulting coaching business will automatically have those things in it. And what I say to you is, don't be afraid to be overt about that. Because in the end, most people know it's really important. And the most important thing, Tina, is to go, I would say to people is, you have to be able to do something that you would do every day, regardless of whether anyone paid you or not. So if I took away any need for you to earn money, because it was all taken care of and all the responsibilities and 401ks and all the things you'll have for the kids, because I'm sure you've been topping up their university funds and all the things that conscientious, connected, creative nurturers do, and it was just about you and money wasn't the issue, you would do exactly what you just described. Now, the interesting thing is, the stretch might be, I might ask you to go, okay, how would we scale that, Tina? Because this is me now, the pioneer consultant with you, going, I love what we're doing. My question would be is to go, we don't need to change the whole world, but is there a way that you could codify what you do so that actually others that wanted to offer the same service as you could actually add it as well? So in a sense, I always challenge, if you think 100x leader, which is another big part of what we do, is go, I can see you helping people get to 100 and you being there, healthy, aligned, all those things. The question is, what does multiplication look like and how would we scale it? So I could see you having your own media channel that talks about this stuff. I could see you being able to connect with people. I could see you building, a kind of social media groups or your own platform or your own blogs or your own videos or YouTube channel, because in the end, there's so much about you that you want the world to have. Now, everything within you goes, oh, Steve, I'd love to. That sounds very arrogant. I'm putting myself forward. I'm telling everyone I'm an expert when I know that I'm not, and I don't want to be a hypocrite because I know that's important. And I would go, everything about that is an inhibition in you, Tina. Because everyone who knows you, and I'll get them to write in and tell me, will go, Tina is a woman of incredible integrity, unbelievable stability, consistency, and she is the real deal because she is who she says she is and she does what she says she does. Which means in the world we live in today, where people are often not that, when somebody like you is brave enough to share what you would most love other people to be and do, people will listen to you in a way that you will probably at times think, oh, well, why would they listen to little old me in the middle of Oklahoma? I'm just a mum. I hate that phrase, just a. I jump on it every time and go, because what you have is a passion for people being the best they can be, being the healthiest they could ever be, nutrition, exercise, whole life integration. I suspect there's a spiritual dimension to it based around who I know and what I see about you as well, because that's what the whole person is. So I'm going, yes, I'm into what I want us to think about in our business is to go, I can get you doing it. My challenge would be is, how would you equip 3 other people to coach and consult the same way you are? And what would a media channel look like where you are able to share authentically who you are with the world in a way that actually wouldn't feel too cringeworthy for you? So that's my little bit of consulting advice, a little bit of homework for you to go away and think about and come back and tell me how you've done that. But I'm in, it fits you.
I love that.
Doing it, and I can see you being a huge blessing and help to many, many people who actually would love to learn from you. So how does that sound?
That sounds fantastic. I'm already like, oh, I'm going to take some notes here. Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
we always have a phrase says, in one of Giant's core values was, who says you can't? Heroic goals. Who says you can't? So everything within you has been brave enough in front of 3.5 million people live to basically tell us, oh, I didn't tell you that bit, did I? To tell us, this is actually my dream. This is what I'd love to do. And I'm saying, you can do that. And anyone who says you can't is probably an inhibition or a limiting belief that I've tried to identify for you as a connected creative nurturer, or a prohibition dressed up as an inhibition. Or an inhibition, sorry, dressed up as a prohibition. So I could never do that because I'm not clever enough, or someone told me that's not what I should do. All of those things are limiting beliefs. And part of my support and a partner for you will be to cheer and to stop you self-sabotaging through those limiting beliefs and going, I couldn't do that because I'm just or I've not done X or Y. I think you'll be amazing. I will cheer and I will promote your voice to the world happily through everything I am. So there you go. I hope that's helpful. And I've got one last little thing for you, Tina. You may say, Steve, you've done enough, in which case we'll call it a day. I would say to people is, what's the most live issue for you right now? And it can be in your own life, it could be your family, team, organization. If you could, and this is me pretending I'm the wise counsel, if there was one thing that you go, do you know, I'd really love to get a bit of wisdom on this, or be able to process in a safe place with somebody. Is there anything going on right now, Tina, in you, or have I already identified some of those things that what we've already talked about?
Lots of good stuff already this morning. But when you phrase it as a live issue, I think I have to bring up the family circle. Mm-hmm. Parenting children who were kind of, my husband is a creative connector, nurturer. Right.
Yeah.
So you can, imagine that we are both very future, big picture, perfectionist, people pleasing as a pair. But we're identifying that our children may not be those foundational voices. Mm. So how do we parent our opposite children who are still learning about themselves and their own tendencies? And that is a live issue for us right now as we spend so much time together. Not a bad thing, it's a blessing, but there's a lot of togetherness.
So here's what I'd say, Tina, is to go, firstly, those 2 children are some of the luckiest children on God's green earth, because to be actually brought up by a combination of a connector, creative nurturer, and a creative connector nurturer means there is so much love in that home, and also so much perfectionist parental tendency. So in the end, whatever you did, that everyone else would look at you and go, oh my goodness, those children, you will always be tempted to look at what we're not doing for them rather than what you are doing for them. So that's the first thing that I will say to you is that combination will always, basically, whenever you have a conversation about how do we be better parents, you will always end up in a doom loop rather than a positive loop, because you'll always look at what you are not doing versus what you are doing. So the first thing I say is, before you try and fix something which is not an issue, I would get somebody who knows your family well, who you trust, to actually speak into that situation and going, okay, are we being a bit hard on ourselves? And what are we doing really well as parents by your observation? Now, that will be excruciating because both of you would rather deal with the things you're doing badly, but you need to hear first, you remember, what are we celebrating about your parenting? Because from that, we can then go to the challenge, which would be to say, okay, then, what does it mean to create high support and high challenge for each of my children? So know yourself to lead yourself is the foundation. Well, you and your husband, Patrick, you already know each other pretty well. You've just described your voices. You've watched. You'll be unbelievably diligent at trying to be the best parents you can. Once you start thinking about, so then know your children to lead your children. You'll have heard me maybe on another series where we did parenting where I say, there's only two things you need to remember as a parent. I'm like, okay, this is good. That you love the child unconditionally. So there is no way they can ever outrun your love. Doesn't matter. Yes, you'll have to discipline them. Yes, they'll disappoint you. But the most important thing is the child needs to know whatever happens in my life, the worst case scenario, I come home pregnant or whatever it might be, I've got an addiction, that there's no way they will ever outrun or outlast the love that you and Patrick will give them. Well, I will guarantee you guys are good on that one. I mean, literally, it's impossible for the combination you're wired not to do that. The second is, it's okay to be you. So again, you are not authoritarian, task-driven, you must be the best. You will have high expectations for your children, but you'll never drive them. So therefore, they will know it's okay to be them. And what I always say to people is, as they get into those teenage years, spend the time with them. Ask them, what is it that you love doing most? How can I be a liberating mother and father to you guys? What does high support, high challenge look like? I asked you the questions earlier. Most children know. Most do like you do and go, well, this is what I'd like support to be. And then you have to build in, but what would responsible parenting look like? What would bringing the right challenge? And then it's a constant calibration and conversation. Now, if they're old enough to be able to work out what their voice is and they can learn the vocabulary and language too, that's where Giant becomes really well. But here's the thing I say to you, Tina, is you will always feel that somehow it's not as perfect as it is. I will guarantee that you're already doing an outstanding job. If you want one or two other things to think about, is get somebody from the outside to give you some objective feedback in terms of your parenting. Ideally a thinker, a guardian or a pioneer who will speak the truth in love, and you'll have to believe them. The other thing is to ask your children, show them the support challenge matrix, go, where do you experience me right now as a parent? You may be pleasantly surprised, Tina, because if they go, Mum, you're the most liberating person I know, you support me in ways I cannot comprehend, and you bring challenge when I need it, all of the angst of am I being the best parent I can be goes out the window because your children have just told you you're awesome. If they do say you're being a protector, which they might, you then go, help me understand, what challenge would you love me to bring to help you be the best you can be? So in Giant language, we say, let the tools do the heavy lifting and let the tendency lenses act as both mirrors and a lens to view the world. So there you go. That's probably feels like I'm preaching to you, Tina, but that's because I'm trying to be a liberator. Knowing that, I know how you're wired and how you will tend to engage with these things. So come back to me. Any clarifying questions before we end?
This was gold. I thought this was so helpful. You gave me some good things to think about. I hope this was helpful to other people that will watch this. And I saw a comment come over earlier that said something about life balance. And I love that phrase, life balance. Yeah, because for me, I've never liked work-life balance. I don't like that phrase because to me, it's just life. It's not a work or it's life. It's just life. And work is part of my life. And so knowing that, I think that's part of my voice as a connector, where there's just, I will share across all lines what I'm excited about.
Absolutely.
That I just want to have life balance. And that comes with knowing, priorities and time management. And I'm still learning all of the best ways to manage all that. But I want life balance. I don't want work life balance.
Tina, thank you for being such another amazing guest. I've so loved getting to know you. I hope some of the things I've shared will be helpful and liberating for you. We're going to follow the story. I'm excited to see how our joint venture business / nonprofit progresses, and looking forward to being able to send people to it on the social media when we find a platform where you can share that wisdom. But just an advance warning for everyone else. Next time on Personality Yoda, we've got the amazing Miss Amy Mast. She is a connector creative pioneer. So we're gradually working our way down through these personality types. But Tina, for today, thank you. Thank you for being so honest and real. And I know that others of your species, or those who happen to be leading or parenting a connector creative nurturer, probably have a better understanding of how they can do that well thanks to you. So thank you, Tina. Really lovely to meet you.
Thank you so much.